Strength of materials, which is also called as solid mechanics, is a very important subject in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and allied branches to understand the behavior of structural element, mechanical elements under the action of the load for the safe design. So welcome to video series on strength of materials, in which you will understand the concepts in strength of material in a very simple and easy to understand language, so that even an average student can understand them very easily. In this video, you will understand what is meant by strength of material, concepts of different types of stresses, and Saint Venant's principle. So watch this first basic video on strength of material. After watching this video, you will be able to understand concepts of stresses and strains, types of stresses, and Saint Venant's principle. So let us understand first what is meant by elastic material, what is plastic material, and what is rigid material. So an elastic material deforms, that is, there is change in dimensions under the action of external loads, and these deformations disappears on the removal of loading. So in real life, all the structural elements are subjected to external loads. So elastic material which deforms under the action of external loads, and this deformation disappears on the removal of loading. Now let us see what is plastic material. Plastic material deforms just like elastic material under the action of external loads, but here the deformations are permanent and the material does not regain its original size and shape on removal of loads. So that is basic difference between elastic material and plastic material. In elastic material, it regains its original size and shape, but in plastic material, the material does not regain its original size and shape on removal of the loads. Now what is rigid material? Rigid material does not undergo any deformations under the action of external loads. So rigid material, you must have solved some examples in engineering mechanics. So why should we study strength of materials? Strength of material is an interdisciplinary subject useful especially to civil engineers, mechanical engineers, architects, chemical engineers, mining engineers, aeronautical engineers, etc. In design of all types of structures, analysis of structure is a very important step to know the design forces. Whether it is civil engineering structure like buildings, bridges, dams, etc., machines, motors, aeroplanes, antennas, ships or spacecrafts, and understanding of behavior of material and various structural members is very essential for the safe design of structure. While selecting a suitable material for the project, an engineer is always interested to know its strength so as to create a safe structure. So in this subject, we understand the ability of the material to resist the failure under the action of external forces. So this strength of material is subject which deals with the study of effect of externally applied forces on the mechanical properties and strength of material. Just now we have seen what is the meaning of elastic material, plastic material and rigid material. But practically, no material is perfectly elastic, plastic or rigid. While designing the structure, we try to keep the stresses in material within elastic limit. Hence, in strength of material, we go one step further by examining the stresses and strains inside the real structures which deforms under the action of loads. Now let us understand concept of stress. You know that we also experience stress when there is some resistance in mind to do something. Similarly, when material is subjected to external forces, the force try to deform it. So material offers some resistance to this deformation, which is nothing but a stress in the member. Now let us consider one member made up of elastic material having length L, cross-sectional area A, and subjected to external force P. Now what will happen due to this external force? Due to this force, the member will try to deform. And therefore, at every cross-section in this member, the resistance will be developed by the material to this deformation, which is uniformly distributed across the cross-section. Now, if you cut this member at any cross-section and watch what is happening inside this member, then you will see that if there is a force, the resistance which is uniformly distributed over this section is developed inside the material. So if you cut the member at any section, you will observe that there is resistance to this deformation which is due to this external force. This internal force of resistance, these are against deformation per unit area is known as stress. So what is stress? The internal force of resistance against deformation per unit area is called as stress. So these R divided by this area is equal to stress. Now this total R is equal to P. So mathematically we can also say that the external force divided by area is equal to stress. But this is not the definition of stress. What is stress? It is the internal resisting force which is developed in the material per unit area is called as stress. Normally in interviews, the students or candidate tell wrong definition of stress. Whenever asked what is meant by stress, they normally answer that stress is equal to force upon area. It is not force upon area, but it is resistance or resisting force upon area. So let us see some more thing about this stress. So as I told you that when a member is subjected to loads or external forces, it develops internal resistance against deformation. The force of resistance offered by a body against the deformation per unit area is known as stress or intensity of stress or unit stress. Now this stress is denoted by sigma, small f or small p. Remember that capital F and capital P denotes the load, whereas small f and small p denotes the stress. So as we have seen that whenever we cut the member subjected to any load, we can see here some resisting force acting or developed due to this external force. Though it is not visible, it is there. So stress, what is stress? It is denoted by sigma and it is equal to this R, resisting force, divided by this cross-sectional area. But for equilibrium, this R is equal to external force, and therefore we can also write this sigma is equal to R by A. This is by definition, but mathematically since R is equal to P, that is external force, we can also write mathematically stress is equal to force per unit area. So what is stress mathematically? For calculation purpose, it is equal to force upon area. But this is not the definition. Please remember, it is the definition is it is resisting force upon cross-sectional area. But for calculation purpose, stress is equal to force upon area. Now what is unit of stress? We know that stress is equal to resisting force upon area, or which is also equal to external force upon area. The unit of force is Newton and unit of area is meter square, and therefore unit of stress is Newton per meter square. Newton per meter square is also called as Pascal, and Pascal is denoted by PA, capital P, small a. While solving problem, you must know various conversions. So now we will see how to convert from one unit to another unit. As we have seen that the unit of stress is Newton per meter square, and 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 1 Pascal. So 1 Pascal is 1 Newton per meter square. 1 megapascal is 1 Newton per millimeter square. 1 gigapascal is equal to 10 raised to power 3 Newton per millimeter square, and 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 10 raised to minus 6 Newton per millimeter square. So you must know this conversion while solving numerical examples. So PA is Pascal, here MPa means megapascal and GPa means gigapascal. Next is type of stresses. There are two types of stresses, depending on whether the force is acting perpendicular to the surface or parallel to the surface. So first is axial stress or normal stress. In this, the force acts perpendicular to the surface. This is further divided into tensile stress and compressive stress, depending on what type of the force it is. If force is tensile force, the stress will be tensile stress. And if force is in compressive in nature, then it will develop compressive stress. Second type is shear stress. When the force is parallel to the surface, then it is a shear stress. It developed a shear stress. Now let us understand more about these types of stresses. Let us first understand what is axial stress or normal stress. Axial stress or normal stress is also called as direct stress or longitudinal stress. So the stress produced due to axial load is called as axial stress. And in this case, the load acts normal to the surface, and therefore normal means perpendicular, and therefore it is also called as longitudinal stress. Since the stress is developed along the longitudinal axis, it is also called as longitudinal stress. This stress is denoted by sigma, and it is further divided into tensile stress and compressive stress. Now tensile stress is an axial stress which acts along the axis. Now what is tensile stress? It is the stress developed in the body when two equal and opposite pulling forces applied to the body tends to elongate it. So here, if you consider this bar, these type of forces are the tensile forces which elongate the body. There is change in the length in the body like this. So the tensile stress sigma is equal to tensile force P divided by cross-sectional area. Second type of axial stress is compressive stress. So in this case, the compressive forces are applied to the material or to the member, and these are along the axis. So what is compressive stress? It is the stress developed in a body when two equal and opposite pushing forces applied to the body which tends to shorten it. So when the stress is developed in the material, when the forces tries to shorten it. these stresses are called as compressive stresses. And this is along the axis, this is the longitudinal axis of this member. And these stresses are developed along this axis. Therefore, it is called as axial stress or longitudinal stress. And this force is perpendicular to this surface. Since the force is perpendicular to the surface, it is called as normal stress. So compressive stress sigma, it is denoted by sigma, is equal to compressive load P divided by cross-sectional area. Area is the cross-section of this member. So cross-sectional, sorry, there is some mistake in the spelling of sectional. So compressive load P divided by cross-sectional area A is called as compressive stress sigma. We have seen that in normal stresses, the forces are perpendicular to the surface. But when the forces are parallel to the surface, shear stresses are developed. So what is shear stress? The intensity of resisting force parallel to the sectional plane is called as shear stress. And we do not designate or we do not denote these stresses by sigma, but these stresses are denoted by tau or small q. So for normal stresses, we use sigma, whereas for shear stresses, we use tau. To understand the shear stress, let us consider the block, rectangular block with length L, height h, and width which is perpendicular to the screen is unity. Now force P is acting parallel to the surface. So this force will try to shear off the section at XX. Let us cut the member at section XX and draw the free body diagram. So if you draw the free body diagram at section XX, the force which is resisting force will develop equal and opposite to P. This is resistance to shear off. And this force is tangential force or parallel to the surface. So such type of forces are, this generates the shear stresses. So if you cut this section and draw the free body diagram, then on the bottom portion there will be equal and opposite to this R, and since this block is fixed at base, so this P and this P are equal. So this is free body diagram, and this shear resistance R per unit area which is perpendicular to the screen is known as shear stress, and shear stress acts tangential to the area over which it acts. So what is shear stress? Shear stress is induced in the member whenever the applied loads cause one section of a body to slide past its adjacent section. So just now I explained you what is meant by shear stress with the help of this example, with the help of this diagram. So what is shear stress? It is this force which is developed. This is resisting force developed at this cross section. So this resisting force which is parallel to this surface. So this resisting force divided by area. What is that area? Area is this length divided multiplied by the width which is perpendicular to the surface. So that is called as shear stress. Now let us see what is the definition, exact definition of shear stress. Shear stress is the stress induced in a body when subjected to two equal and opposite forces which are acting tangentially across the resisting section, as we have shown in figure B and C, as a result of which the body tends to shear off across the section. So that is shear stress. Shear stress always acts tangential to the area over which it acts. And shear stress is induced in the member whenever the applied loads cause one section of a body to slide past its adjacent section. Mathematically, shear stress tau is equal to shear resistance R divided by shear area A. So A means the area on which R force acts. So these are the two types of stresses. What are those? Axial stress or normal stress, which is tensile or compressive, and shear stress. In shear stress also there is further classification. So let us see it. So there is single shear, double shear or punching shear whenever the cross section is subjected to shear forces. So let us understand meaning of single shear, double shear and punching shear. First of all, I will explain you what is single shear and double shear. So for that, let us consider the plate. This is the plan of the plate which is subjected to forces P as shown in figure. And these are two plates connected with the help of rivet. So this is elevation or you can say section through this, and this is plan. So there are two plates connected with the help of rivet. So whenever we apply the force like this P, this bolt can break at one section, which is here. So shear stress will develop at this cross section. So because of which the rivet will fail here. Now let us consider same plate. This is plan of the plate, but there are three plates. Two plates in one direction and third plate is like this. So in this case, when we apply force P, this force P is shared by these two plates in opposite direction, and therefore force carried by these two plates are P by 2 and P by 2. So when the stress developed here, which is shear stress, because of which this bolt can break at two cross sections. So when bolt break at one cross section, or when the shear resistance is developed only at one cross section, then it is called as single shear. And when shear resistance is developed at two cross sections, then it is called as double shear. So there are two sections at which the bolt can fail. Here there is only one section where the bolt can fail. So if this fail, this bolt, this will be the free body diagram. So force is applied like this P. So shear force is generated here at the junction of two plates. So this P and this R is equal. So there will be equal and opposite on this. You must have studied this free body diagram in engineering mechanics. So if you draw the free body diagram, it will look like this. So here the force is resisted at one section, whereas here the failure can take place at two places. So this is the force P, opposite to this the resistance is developed. So here equal and opposite resistance, here also equal and opposite to this, and this is how the free body diagram look like for this case. So this R is the shear resistance. So in case of single shear, the rivet fails at one section, and therefore shear area of the rivet A is given by pi by 4 d square if d is the diameter of that bolt or rivet. In double shear, the resistance is offered at two sections, and therefore two areas are useful to resist that force, and therefore here shear area of the rivet is given by 2 times, here 1 and 2 times pi by 4 d square. So if it is in single shear, the shear area is pi by 4 d square. If it is in double shear, then shear area of rivet is 2 times pi by 4 d square. So I hope this is clear to you, what is meant by single shear and what is double shear. Now let us understand punching shear. You must have used punching machine. So in punching machine, when we create the hole in the paper, the force which is applied by that punching machine on the paper is nothing but shear force. And which is the area that resists that shear force, that area is circumference of this multiplied by thickness of this. So this is periphery. This force is resisted by the area at the periphery of the junction of this and the plate. And therefore, in this punching action, shear area is circumference, which is pi into d, divided by thickness of the plate. So this is called as punching shear. I hope the concept of normal stresses and shear stresses is clear to you. Now we will understand Saint Venant's principle. So first I will tell you the statement of that principle, and then I will explain you what that statement means. So the Saint Venant's principle states that the difference between the effects of two different but statically equivalent loads becomes very small at sufficiently large distances from the load. That is, the stresses and strains in a body at points that are sufficiently remote from the point of application of load depends only on static resultant of the loads and not on the distribution of the load. So what is the statement? It states that difference between the effect of two different but statically equivalent loads becomes very small at sufficiently large distances from the loads. So I will explain you the meaning of this. That means the stresses and strains in a body at points that are sufficiently remote from point of application of load depends only on the static resultant of the loads and not on the distribution of the load. So let us understand this statement. The original statement of Saint Venant's principle was published in French by Saint Venant in 1855. Now I will explain the meaning of the statement of Saint Venant's principle using one simple example. Now let us consider this bar. This bar is suppose subjected to load P. Now how will be the stress variation at section 11, section 22 and section 33? So variation will not be the uniform at all the sections. So there is change in the variation if the section is near the application of the load, and it changes as we go away from the point of application of the load. Now let us first consider section 11. So for practical purpose, while solving the problem, we always consider the section which is away from the application of load, and therefore we can consider uniform variation while solving the problem. But if you consider the section which is very near to the application of the load, then the variation will not be uniform. So this is because of the stress concentration here, because of this load. But as we go away from the point of application of the load, then this goes on reducing as we go away from the point of application of the load. And at point 33, you can see if it is sufficiently away from the application of the load point, then the stress variation will be uniform as shown in the figure. And while solving the problem, we consider this section that is away from the point of application of the load. But section is near the point of application of the load, then the variation is non-uniform as shown in this figure and second figure, that is at section 1 and section 2. But as we go away from the point of application of the load, it becomes more uniform. Just now we have seen that the effect of external force on section 11, 22 and 33, and we have seen that if the section is remote, it is far away from the application of the force, point of application of the force, then there is uniform variation. But suppose we replace this force P by equivalent force system. This is also P, but we have divided P into three parts, into three forces, P by 3, P by 3 and P by 3. Then Saint Venant's principle states that if the section is sufficiently away from the point of application of the force, then the effect on the stresses will be negligible. It will have same effect here. Here also it is sigma is equal to P by A, and here also sigma is equal to P by A. No effect of distributing this force into number of forces. That is Saint Venant's principle. So what it says, Saint Venant's principle? So as per Saint Venant's principle, sorry, S and V must be capital. So as per Saint Venant's principle, if the forces acting on a small portion of the structure of an elastic body are replaced by another statically equivalent system of forces, just now we have replaced P by 3, three forces of P by 3. So if the system is replaced by another statically equivalent system of forces acting on the same portion of the surfaces, this redistribution of loading produces substantially changes in the stresses locally, but has negligible effect on the stresses on the surface which are sufficiently remote from the point of application of forces. That is the meaning of Saint Venant's principle. Now let us understand how the stresses varies when we move away from the point of application of force. So consider this figure. Let us take section 1.1 and section 2.2. So this is free body diagram at section 1.1 and this is free body diagram at section 2.2. So when the member is subjected to forces as shown in the figure, the stresses developed at section may or may not be uniform. The variation depends on the distance of the section from the applied load or variation in the cross-sectional area. Now here we will study what is the effect of variation of the distance. So here if you consider this bar and if you consider section 1.1 which is near applied load, then the variation will be non-uniform. But if you go away from the load, then the stress variation will be uniform. So in this case, we have considered the constant area of the cross section. Now let us see what is the effect of the cross sectional area on the variation of stress. Now let us consider these two different bars. Now in both the cases, the area reduces at certain cross section here, and here also area reduces, but there will be change in the variation of the stresses depending on how the area reduces. So in first case, if you take the section near this hole, you will observe that near the hole there will be concentration of the stress will be more and it will reduce towards the end. Whereas in this case, the stress variation will be like this. Because of sudden change in this diameter of the rod, there will be stress concentration here, and here there will be less stresses as compared to the outer side. So this is how the area affect the variation of the stresses. I hope you will find this video useful to understand the concept and types of the stresses and to understand Saint Venant principle. In next video, we will see what is the strain and what are the types of strains. If you find this video useful, please share it for benefit of others and stay connected to watch more videos on strength of material. Thank you.